Which receivers have I drafted the most in 2025? I'll let you know. I've drafted 140 times, so I'm going to give you a top 10 list. Yeah, that's right. I've done 140 fantasy football drafts thus far. So I'll give you a top 10 list. And at the end, my number one guy is going to be a guy you can get late in the draft, and he could probably win you your league. So before we get to all that, please hit like, subscribe, share this video, comment below. Visit walterfootball.com for tons of content. We have new content every day, not just fantasy football. Of course, we have sleepers and busts and rankings, cheat sheets, etc. But we also have picks against the spread. We have NFL mock drafts for the NFL draft. We have grades for every sign and grades for every trade. So check out walterfootball.com. It's all free. So let's get to the top 10 here. So my number 10 is going from bottom to top. Calvin Ridley in 21% of my drafts. I think this guy's going to have a great year. Last year, he had some big games, but wasn't consistent. But that's because of bad quarterbacking. He had passes. He got passes from Will Levis and Mason Rudolph. Those guys were terrible. He had the most unrealized air yards in the NFL last year. And the person who had the most unrealized air yards in 2023 and really exploded in 2024 was Terry McLaurin. So I think Calvin Ridley could have a similar type season. He's going to get a big upgrade in Cam Ward. Now, granted, I don't think Cam Ward is going to be as good as Jane Daniels or anything, but Cam Ward is definitely going to be a lot better than Levis and Rudolph. So I think Ridley's just going to get a big step here. I think he's a steal in round 5. My number 9 is Malik Neighbors. I think he can have a monster year. Now, there have been some concerns lately with a troublesome toe, but he's had this injury in college. He's played through it. He's been dynamic otherwise, so I'm not too concerned. I think he's great value at 109, 110, 111. I think this is a guy who could be known as the receiver 1 next year. He's that talented, and he's going to have better quarterbacking this year. I know Russell Wilson's there, but Russell Wilson's going to be so much better than Drew Lock or Tommy DeVito. And if it's not Russell Wilson, it could be Jameis Winston, who made Jerry Jeudy into a monster last year. So my number 8 is Jawan Jennings. So this is another guy who's had a recent injury. I was drafting Jennings like crazy. Jennings was once my number 1 most exposed receiver, but I haven't drafted him much lately because he's had this calf that hasn't gone away. Another Niner who had a calf injury last year is Christian McCaffrey. So I don't know if I really believe the Niners and whenever they issue an injury report. So I'm pretty skeptical. The fact that he hasn't been able to return for a while just gives me some major concern here. Number 7, AJ Brown. This guy's going way too late. He's going like mid or sometimes late second round. I don't understand it. He was going like 110, 111, 112 last year, and nothing's changed. He's still the same dynamic receiver. He's not an old player, and the Eagles are going to have to throw more this year. The Eagles did not throw much last year because they're always ahead. This year, they're going to have a pretty tough schedule, and I think that teams are going to be, they're going to be prepared for them. Like the Eagles are not going to catch anyone off guard. Obviously, they won Super Bowl, so teams are going to be gearing up to play hard against them. So the Eagles might be behind more in the fourth quarter than they were last year, so A.J. Brown could really factor in there. Number 6 is Jackson Smith and Jigba. He's going to be such a dynamic player for Seattle. Now, granted, they get a downgrade in quarterback for the present in Sam Darnold, going from Geno Smith to Sam Darnold, but Jackson Smith and Jigba is way too good to not produce, and he's going late third, sometimes early fourth. Like once I got him at like 404, I've seen him go like 401, 402, occasionally sometimes 312. That's just way too late for him. He should be going early third round. So I like him a lot there. My number 5 is as we get to the next slide. There we go. Hold on. There we go. It took me a while to figure that out. Got to the next slide. Now I know for next time. But number 5 is Alec Pierce. It might be like, Alec Pierce, why are you taking Alec Pierce? Well, a couple things. One, in a best ball format, he's a fantastic player because he has 3 or 4 big games a year, and he that's what you want out of your like 15th or 16th round player. In a redraft, I wouldn't be too excited about him, but there are a couple of things to consider and like why I would consider drafting him. One is that Anthony Richardson is doing a lot better. Richardson loves Alec Pierce. He's made that known. He's had great connections with Pierce all the time. And 2, Pierce has looked very good in training camp. So I think that Pierce could have a big season. He has dynamic playmaking ability on the outside, so he could have a big year. You're getting him in the last round, so he's someone to target very late. Number 4, Rome Odunze. I think people kind of forget how good he was. heading into the NFL draft. Charlie Campbell, who's the most accurate NFL mock drafter in the world. He is that way partly because of his great sources, and his sources ahead of the 2024 NFL draft told him that Odunze was very close in talent to Malik Neighbors and Marvin Harrison Jr. And if Odunze were in this draft, he would have been a top 5 pick. So last year he didn't do much, but that whole situation in Chicago was awful. No one really did much of anything except for DeAndre Swift. DJ Moore had some good games here and there. Keenan Allen late in the year had some good games here and there, but no one was really consistent in Chicago because they had lousy coaching, they had terrible quarterbacking, and Caleb Williams took so many sacks. Like part of that was his fault. Part of that was injuries on the offensive line. So I think Odunze is going to have a great year. Ben Johnson was quoted as saying like Odunze is a monster and he's going to have to get the ball to him as much as possible. And I'm not like one to listen to coach speak, but kind of confirms what I believe in Odunze. And I think like Odunze going late 6th round is a really good value. Ricky Pearsall is number 3. Pearsall, if you remember, he was number 1 on my sleepers list last year until he got shot. Brian Thomas Jr. took his spot on that list, and he did really well for us. But Pearsall is back again. You know, he's basically rookie now. He played a few games late in the year, but now he's ready to take over. He's San Francisco's number 1 receiver. Juwan Jennings is hurt. Brandon Ayuk's not going to play at least until November with his torn ACL and MCL. And then you have George Kittle's 32. Christian McCaffrey's there to siphon some targets, but he's not going to last very long. He's only played 43% of his games since 2020, which is kind of nuts. So Pearsall is super talented. He's very agile. Like he had great agility scores in the NFL Combine, and that projects really well to the NFL. I just think that he's going to have a massive year, and he's been going like 7th round, 8th round. Now he's creeping a little bit into the 6th, I've noticed, but you can still get him in the 7th. I think he's a huge steal in the 7th. And Emeka Egbuka, 31% of my fantasy drafts. He's been really coming on late. Unfortunately, I'm not getting as much Egbuka as I've been in the past. Egbuka was like automatic 9th round pick like a month ago, like 5 or 6 weeks ago, and then he kind of crept into round 8. And I was still taking him every single time, and then he crept into round 7, and I was like, okay, I'm getting him sometimes just because I wasn't used to it. But the round 7 became my new Emeka Egbuka round, and now he's going round 6, and I think people have finally caught on. I think it's important to, if you're into this basketball stuff, it's important to do drafts early because you get steals like this and you get to get ahead of the curve. Egbuka is such a talented prospect. He at Ohio State, he has such great receivers next to him, and he's still produced. And in Tampa, it may seem like a crowded situation, but it's really not. You have Mike Evans. I just noticed I'm not on the screen here. We're learning this stuff. Mike Evans is 32. He's had chronic hamstring issues. You have Chris Godwin. I don't think Chris Godwin's going to play until like November. Like he has 4 injuries. He had 2 surgical procedures this offseason, and he's not like really doing anything in practice yet. Like the Buccaneers 2 months ago said he was iffy to play week 1. Like that sounds a lot like Christian McCaffrey to me. So I would avoid Chris Godwin at all costs. I think Egbuka is at least the number 2 receiver. And if Evans either regresses from age or gets hurt again with his hamstrings, he could be the number 1 receiver this year. And when I was getting him round 8, round 9, he was a mega steal. I think he's still a good bargain around 6, around 7. Dante Thornton is the number 1 guy that could win your league late in the drafts. I'm getting him round 14 every time. He's another guy I was getting later, like 4 or 5 weeks ago. I was getting him round 18, 19 every time. This guy is 6'5" and runs a 4.3. And he slipped to the 4th round. I don't really understand why. Someone like him should go in like the 2nd round or something. He has like DK Metcalf type upside. And he's been running at the 1s, which I think initially got people interested in him. And so I asked Charlie, who has Raiders sources, and he heard from 2 different people, like separately, like they didn't like confirm with one another. They're 2 higher ups, not even like scouts or lower coaches or anything. These are 2 higher up people in the Raiders organization. They both told Charlie individually that Dante Thornton is the real deal. He's absolutely legit, and he could be the number 1 wide receiver on the team this year. And someone like that is going in the 14th round, 15th round. That's insane. I think you should draft Dante Thornton every single time in your draft. When you get to the late rounds, round 13, 14, 15, he reminds me, this is a different position, but he reminds me of Bucky Irving last year. Bucky Irving was on our sleepers list, which you could find on the sites, on the homepage, it's like the 5th or 6th link down. You could find and I'll put it in the top comments for you guys to see it. Bucky Irving last year was one of our top sleepers. His ADP was like 15th round. Same thing here, Thornton, receiver instead of running back. But really, this guy is such a mega steal. I can't believe he's going so late. Like someone like him should be going 9th round or 10th round. He's going 14th, 15th round. This someone like that could just easily win you your league, unless you screw up elsewhere, like all over the place. So definitely draft Dante Thornton, draft a lot of the players on this list, try to get one of Igbuka Pearsall, or maybe two of Igbuka Pearsall or Odunze, and then maybe Pierce late if you somehow miss out on Thornton. So yeah, this is my top 10 wide receivers. Are going to do other positions a bit later in the week. Visit walterfootball.com for tons of content, and please like, subscribe, and comment below, share this video, and all that good stuff. And I will talk to you guys in the next